everybody. Meredith Oliver here, and I am back with another Meet the Experts interview for the Home Builder Growth Summit. And in this interview, I am excited to talk to Ben Marks of Melinda Brody and Company. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Meredith. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, we're glad to have you. And our relationship at Meredith Communications goes back with Melinda Brody and Company. I don't know, way too many years than I want to admit.
A long time, right?
A long time.
For sure.
But we've always referred you guys as our mystery shopping company of choice.
Thank you.
Continue to do so. And so we're very grateful that you agreed to help sponsor the very first Growth Summit and do a little interview here for our digital vault and kind of bring everybody up to speed on what's happening in the world of home builder mystery shopping. So what is happening in the world of home builder mystery shopping these days?
The world has turned upside down. So it's
really?
Certainly different times, and we are still doing on-site shops. For a while, we were doing more virtual shops where we had our shoppers recording their screen as they were on a Skype or Zoom call with sales reps.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still using a scorecard, so evaluating the sales reps, things like how well they're overcoming objections, talking about the builder, and even introducing some of the virtual aspects, like how did the virtual tour go, and so forth. So we learned we needed to pivot. So we pivoted, and it's sort of a learning curve and so forth.
Yeah.
But it's been good.
Yeah. I bet it's been interesting doing the virtual shops. I mean, it has to really vary pretty greatly from agent to agent, their ability, what kind of technology they use, what kind of setup they have. I mean, I know you're not looking for them to be like the master of Zoom or GoToMeeting or anything like that, but there are probably some basics that you guys are looking for when you're doing the virtual shops, I would imagine.
Right, and for sure. And at the beginning, sort of as COVID became more prevalent and we weren't doing the on-site shops, it was clear that learning curve I'm talking about, where the sales reps themselves were trying to figure it out as well. And some of the challenges or things that we saw is sometimes you would have sales reps just on their cell phone with maybe FaceTime or Skype or one of those, and the only thing you'd see on the screen is their ear. So they would be holding just up against their ear. So those things.
You're like, no, the camera has to show your face.
Exactly.
Or more of your face.
Right. So, those were all helpful. And that's great feedback that we're providing to the builders as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to know that, and their sales reps need to know that, because they're going to be working with shoppers that it might be their first time on Zoom or Skype, and that when you say share screen, I mean, you're literally going to have to walk them through each step. So it is, it's been fun.
Yeah. And I think some of the virtual shopping is here to stay. I mean, I don't know that it'll be the overwhelming and only option once the world reopens fully, but I mean, some of the builders we work with that sell to military buyers, well, those markets have been doing the FaceTime, Zoom, whatever for years. Certainly. Because those buyers are all over the world. They have to move around a lot. They get reassigned a lot. They don't necessarily have time to fly in and go in person. So I don't know, maybe this expectation of convenience, and the world gets smaller. People are relocating around the world. Virtual might be a piece of our business for the long term.
No, for sure. And I think a lot of the builders that we've worked with have seen that they can be successful selling virtually. They are hitting those numbers, and you even hear about virtual design shops or design visits,
consultations.
And so forth. I mean, so
Sure.
So you have buyers that don't set foot on the property until they're far down the process, which is really amazing. So
Yeah, it is. People are still going to need housing. They're going to want to move. Some are going to want to build new construction, thank goodness.
right.
And not everybody will be able to come out in person or comfortable. I mean, we don't know how long it will be before we have a vaccine. We don't know if we'll have a second wave with the flu season. I mean, we just don't know what we don't know. So, yeah, being flexible seems really important. And for builders to know, hey, this is how my team performs in that environment would be really good, useful information.
For sure. And that's
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah. So everything that we hear on the marketing side of the business is just how brisk sales are, that sales are pretty strong in most markets for most of our builder clients. Are you seeing that as well?
For sure. I mean, it's
Hmm.
we are the builders are starting to do more on-site shops. I mean,
Good.
there's some of the mentality is like, oh well, the houses are almost selling themselves. We don't need to shop our salespeople, which you would
No.
think, but at the end of the day, you really want to make sure that you have your salespeople know what they're doing, especially when it's become a lot more competitive. So you're selling against many other builders, so you want to know that your sales rep is doing a good job and overcoming objections and things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
within the last few months, we've seen huge increase in the price and the cost of lumber, which is obviously
Yes.
impacting the price of the home. So your sales reps have to be ready for that, to deal with that, and us setting up the evaluation through a mystery shop, you can set up specific scenarios to see how they're going to respond to those kind of questions. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. The pricing is increasing more rapidly, more aggressively. And with that, our sales folks have to be able to sell that value of why that's justified and why it's worth it and what price land comes into play. I mean, you mentioned lumber, land's another one. We talked to a lot of our builders that are having trouble getting land positions or finding land that is a good fit for their portfolio. And so when they do, it costs what it costs. I mean, we've got to be able to explain and sell that. And our sales folks, if they're newer to the industry and they've come in during this more hot time, they may not really have been
right,
tested, so to
right. You
speak.
get a false sense of, of accomplishment almost.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And those of us that have been around this industry a while, we've seen those cycles.
right,
And we really don't know what on earth. I mean, if we thought we knew when I saw you in January at the builder show this year, we
yeah,
thought,
that's right,
okay, this is going to be a great year. I mean, all signs were pointing up. It was, the economy seemed really good. And the only potential blip on the radar was the 4-year election that happens every November, 4 years. It usually causes a little bit of a, tighten, like,
yeah,
what is happening to our country? And then 30 days later, everybody's like, it is what it is. I'm over it, and they move
right,
on. But that was the only really potential blip. And then we found ourselves in the middle of this COVID thing. And then we found ourselves in the middle of this surge. So a lot of our builders too, what they're grappling with is customer experience, not only making the sale, but then maintaining that happy customer until the house can get built or closed.
right.
I
And it
mean,
starts with the sales, and it starts with the salesperson, and you want to know that they're doing a good job and
yeah,
making sure that handoff is working and so forth. So,
and they're
yeah, it's all
setting the right
critical.
expectations,
Right.
of what the process is going to be like and what the timing will be like. Um, I know when we built our home last year, our salesperson did a really good job of keeping us informed every week. Almost every Friday, we got a picture, even if
Right.
it was just a 2x4. Like, it was something.
Progress.
And
It's progress.
it's progress,
Right.
right? but you don't know what they are doing or aren't doing unless you're really actively. It's not just the shop, it's the coaching, right? I
Right.
mean, that's the piece
Oh,
of
for sure. Yeah, I mean, and that's the great thing about the mystery shops. I mean, we're giving you the scorecard results, so you're seeing where the individual sales rep, how what their strengths and where they need to improve, but also the whole team. So
yeah,
that way you get like for Melinda Brody and Company, we have a client dashboard, so you can pull these data reports and look at trend
nice.
reports, see how individuals are doing over time periods and things like that. But you can
Mm-hmm.
really hone in, especially on the sales coaching and training side, to know, this salesperson Joe needs this help here with closing, so you can really dedicate or be more efficient in how you spend your time working with your individuals as well as your teams.
I
So,
know I reviewed two shops recently for two online sales counselors, and they were pretty good. I mean, and they're good at their job, they're experienced at what they do, but they did uncover a couple of things that, when we looked a little deeper, were indeed a pattern of behavior.
right,
And I won't go into any details of what they were, but I'm just saying it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It was
right,
a lot of times salespeople will want to brush their shop off with just, well, that was that time. And sometimes odd things happen, come out of our mouth. It's not what we normally say. That's all that happens. But in most cases, from my experience, when I've reviewed them and then gotten in, like, say, the CRM and looked further at more documentation, more notes, talked further with the salesperson, sure enough, I mean, it was something that was an ongoing issue that
right.
could
And and
go on.
certainly people get complacent, and it's no different with sales reps. I mean, they've been
Yes.
doing what in their mind works. Certainly, we like to point out that, I mean, the shops are really more educational. They're not supposed to be punishment in any way,
No,
and
no.
that's sometimes the reaction you get when you say, you've been shopped, or, look, it's supposed to help you. Here's some things that perhaps you didn't know what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, it could even be as simple things as body language. Maybe you're giving certain body language, to that, off-putting in some way. But anyway,
Yeah, you don't know until you listen to it or watch it back. And that video component is so important. I think my best growth as a speaker is when I sit down and watch the videos or listen to the recordings of the Zoom meetings I do. And it's pretty horrifying. I mean, even today, 20 years later, I'm doing this a long time, and it's still very painful to
right.
do. But you go, oh my goodness, I didn't know I said that every two sentences. Or
Or
I, um,
oh,
I end every sentence like it's a question and not a statement, like, so that I don't sound confident. There's all these, you're right, from
right,
body language to tone to filler words. There's a lot of things we do that make us not as good at communicating.
right. Or even
That,
talking too much. I mean, when you're working with buyers, sometimes you just have to stop talking and let them let them speak. I mean, you'll get a lot just by listening.
and
So,
it's hard too. It's
oh yeah.
hard. Have you, with your on-site shops and everybody wearing masks, has that been a unique challenge or something you've had to address or kind of work around? Or
Really not. I mean, not from a communication point of
okay.
view. It's more about, often our shoppers want to know that when they're going into a model home, that they're following COVID protocols, and their social
Yes.
distancing, masks are required, and things like that. So,
Yes. So
and
they feel
by and large,
safe.
most are. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the Builder Town Hall the other day. I was interviewing Jay Bear, who's a pretty well-known sales and marketing expert and author outside our industry. And he was using this example of he wanted to go get his first haircut, like in the
Mhm.
reopen kind of post lockdown world. And he's like, I'm a 50-something-year-old man. I've had a lot of haircuts in my life, but coming into this with the, after lockdown, he's like, I had at least 20 something questions that I could list out about what it would be like to go in the new environment. Do I wear a mask? Do they wear a mask? Are they open the same hours? Like he rattled off all these questions about a simple haircut. And it made me think about all the questions that our buyers must have coming into a model home, kind of like your shoppers would have, just about how safe is it going to be, and will they keep their social distance?
Right.
And I think we have to make a real effort on the marketing side of the business to make sure our websites, our emails are real clear
Oh, for
that
sure. Yeah.
we follow all the protocols and we follow your lead, you, the shopper, on what you're comfortable with.
Right. And most of the builders that we're working with do a great job. So if we're going on-site appointment and they're sending information, they're including, here's what our protocols are. Let us know
Good.
if anything of this doesn't, if you have traveled or you have been around someone with COVID, then let's reschedule, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part,
And
they've been good about that.
it seems like too, they're really making an effort on their websites to say that the virtual visits are available if that's something somebody prefers.
Right. And I think some of the builders that do a better job of that have the ability just to go ahead and select, even you have the ability to schedule your own virtual tour. So you have,
Yes.
you pick the day, the time, and you say it's going to be 30 minutes, because ideally you don't want these to go, hours and so forth. But
No.
I mean, to tell a buyer, a prospect that, it's only going to be 30 minutes. I think that, especially in this day and age when people are just over Zoom or spend a lot of time on Zoom, it's anything
Yeah.
you can do to say,
Yeah.
set
I
those
think
expectations
so.
up front.
Well, what's interesting about Zoom and virtual in general, whether it's FaceTime or Skype or whatever the platform is, it seems to me that our attention span is even shorter. Like you
Right.
have to really get to the point. I know as a presenter, anytime I present using the virtual platforms, I don't really tell a lot of stories. I don't, which makes it kind of not as maybe interesting, but it's just our tolerance for, I guess, what we perceive as fluff extra is way low on with virtual communication.
Yes. I mean, it's just have to evaluate everything. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
So where are you
I'd say one
finding,
other,
go ahead. Yeah.
I'd say one other thing, the challenge that we're seeing with a lot of the virtual tours is just make sure you have strong internet connections throughout your communities. We've had a number where, they start in a sales center and then the sales rep is going to physically walk and take them to through another model home or so forth. And just walking across the property, the signal drops or something like that. So
Yeah.
that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And if you just don't offer the whole walking bit. Like
Right.
test it out, know what works. If you have to stand in the corner of the room with like your tinfoil hat, like, like go stand in that corner.
Sorry, I
But
can't show you the kitchen. I'm
sorry,
gonna lose you.
yeah, I don't want to drop the call, but I do all that, like drop the call, reconnect, all that.
It's
It's
frustrating.
not good. It's
Yeah,
very
exactly.
frustrating, and it feels unprofessional and blah blah. So
Right.
yeah, I think you find the set. I always say find the setup that reliably, consistently works, and do it from there. And then you can always walk around and film something with your phone and
All
then
right. Yeah.
send it as a follow-up opportunity.
Which is a great idea. Right. Exactly.
Right?
Personalize it. Yeah.
Right. Right. But keep it simple, but really as flawless technically as you can
Right.
for the conversation, I think is good.
For sure.
So we talked about salespeople really having to work on overcoming objections with prices increasing and lumber causing price increases, land, so forth. Is there anything else you're seeing in the shops right now that you feel like is areas that could be improved upon?
I mean, we always encounter the same issue with follow up and things like that. You're talking
Yep.
about the builder story. So, I mean, really just sales reps need to know their builder, put together a strong builder story, be able to say, what sets your builder apart from the competition? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, the prospects are going to remember that if it's really meaningful. And then
Yeah.
follow up, it's picking up the phone, sending emails, and personalizing it in terms of if they're interested in certain schools and so forth, being able to add something that really ties
Mm-hmm.
it together for them is important.
Yeah. You you may be busy now with lots of sales and things happening, but one thing about real estate, it cycles through.
Uh,
And
for
there will
sure.
be a day when you will be very thankful to have those names in your CRM of people who weren't quite ready today, that were more like 6 months, 9 months out. They needed a job change. They were waiting on kids to graduate or start school or start a family, all these different things that are a little bit more long term. And when that real estate cycle downshifts a little bit slower, you'll be very glad to have those names
Yeah,
in
right.
your database and have your notes and have a relationship built up where you're just kind of sending them updates and what's happening and what's new and where you're located now and what neighborhood you're in. I mean,
Yeah, it's
it's worth gold.
like Nike says, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But it takes
it's worth the
discipline.
effort. Yeah, it
Yeah.
for sure it does. But I
Yeah.
think those that are successful know that it works
Yeah.
and put in that
They
put in that effort. So
they build it up,
yeah,
over time, and they have that basically following of people that they stay in touch with. And even if they buy somewhere else or move, I mean, you just never know. If you're really in new home sales as your career, then even 5 years from now, they could be ready to buy again. And
all right.
you get in touch, or like, here's where I am. Oh, that's where I want to be. You never know.
Yeah, especially
So
if you have that personal connection with them,
yeah, it
it
makes
goes a long
sense.
way. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the biggest challenge that you guys have? I mean, obviously the shutdowns and not being able to physically get out to model homes was a huge challenge. But kind of as we've shifted into reopening phase, what's the biggest challenge you're seeing?
So I mean, we have a nationwide network of shoppers, and uh, by and large, I mean, you have certain areas of the country that are still have lots of COVID cases, and you have a lot of nervous shoppers that just it's just some areas it's taking a little longer to schedule shops than it did before. So we
Mm-hmm.
just having to tell our clients, please
Yeah.
be patient with us. We'll get it done. It may not be the 10 to 14 days that it used to be pre-COVID, and now
Mm-hmm.
it could take up to 3 weeks. Again, it's certain areas. It
Yeah.
depends.
It
So
depends. But I find almost everything is slower. Like even Amazon is slower, like a lot
right,
slower.
yeah,
And we're kind of just spoiled. I mean, Prime and all that, it kind of ruined us, right? So we're kind of
yeah,
just back to normal, I think, on turnaround times of things. Yeah.
yes, for sure. And and for the most part, clients are understanding. We certainly want
Yeah.
you know, to deliver the best results and get those
Yes.
turned around.
Yeah.
It's just it's it's the times. Like I guess
Yeah.
we do what we can.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've definitely been well trained by your company for many years
yeah,
on the importance of coaching and training, no matter what market it is. up, down, sideways, COVID, it doesn't matter. You still,
Right.
I hope those of you that are listening, I mean, these are people that work for you.
Right.
And people, like plants, need to be cultivated and nurtured and empowered, even when times are good. I mean, the burnout factor. So,
Right.
just having a builder, a sales manager that is willing to invest their dollars into making you better, you should always take that as a resource and a compliment and an investment,
Well,
and
for
not a
sure.
criticism, which is hard, but it's the only way to get better, right?
Oh, for sure. And one of the ways that we set ourselves apart, Melinda Brody and Company, from other mystery shopping companies is we do the shops, the video shops, the virtual shops, and then we have the ability through, we have a coach, Leah Turner, who works with
Yes.
one-on-one with individual sales reps. So she'll review the video, the shop video, and then she'll work with these sales reps to come up with a 30-day plan, how to see what they did well, see where they need improvement, and use that 30-day plan to sort of get them over the hurdle and see where they can improve. But also she does virtual workshops where she's working with entire teams, you know, teaching how to
Yes.
do improve your sales presentations and lots of different aspects of the sales
And
process.
that's really where people get better, is that one-on-one, sitting there reviewing the shop. I mean, to me, that really is the main difference that you guys bring to the table. Leah has way too many years of experience. She would not
Right.
want me to say how many, but she's worked for builders. She's been in marketing. She's been in sales for builders. She comes out of the field with that knowledge. And then, of course, has been, affiliated with Melinda Brody and Company for years now, as well as a sales
All right.
trainer. And so she knows this industry inside and out. She's lived it. She knows it. And she can coach you. I mean, I think too, she's a certified coach, right? So that
Yeah.
gives her an angle too of not just industry knowledge, but also the knowledge of how to properly coach someone, which is an art in and of itself.
Right.
It's something about asking questions and shutting up, which neither things I'm very good at, which is why I'm not
Right.
a certified coach.
Yeah. And she does DISC assessments as well,
That's
which is
right.
so these sort of almost like personality tests, but just shows
Yes.
let you know what kind of salesperson you are. It's hard to describe, but it's
No,
really
yeah.
knowing, when you're dealing with different prospects, like if someone's a big talker, then you need to, from yourself that, okay, I need to listen more, even though it may be your innate sense just to want to keep talking. You need to
Yes.
back off because you're gonna at the end challenge those people. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you might overwhelm them with all
yeah.
of your talking.
So
So,
what's
no, go ahead. Sorry.
so oftentimes we're doing these shops, and some builders, sometimes it feels like they're just checking a box, like, yes, we did our shops, and they don't really do much with it beyond that. I mean, they may take a quick look at the scorecard, but it is what it is. And really encourage the sales managers to spend that time. You know, it is an effort. It does
Yeah.
take time.
Yeah.
But I think your sales reps will thank you for it. And certainly we're willing to help. I mean, Leah's willing to come in and
Yeah.
work with you one-on-one with our sales reps to help
Yeah.
as well.
That's what I
So,
was doing with the online sales counselors recently that I was working with. Is it was kind of a three-party thing with the sales manager, them and me, and we were kind of all just working together as a team to just make what they were doing even better. I mean, it was great.
right.
So you don't, if you're listening, you don't necessarily have to think you have a problem or somebody's doing terribly. I mean, this is just an investment to develop your people. And at the end of the
No, for sure.
day, that's what leadership is. Leadership is the maximization of the development of your people to their highest and best abilities. And that's what leaders do,
right?
right?
Right.
That's different than managing. Managing is kind of dealing with what you got and making the most of it. But if you want to really be a leader with your organization or your team, then you have to show them you're willing to put your time and your money into them as a way of helping them improve and getting that feedback that they need.
Right.
We all struggle receiving feedback. It is not easy. I know a time or two when I've received speaking feedback, there were tears, there were hurt feelings, but they were right too. And when I finally got a thick enough skin to take a look at it and say, I really could be better,
Right.
that's when I got better.
Exactly.
So I hope, sales folks, I hope that you can find that self-confidence too, to just really be willing to take a look at it. And you can decide for yourself, is this true for me? Is this not true for me? Or is it partly, is there something I can learn from it either way? All of those, that kind of attitude will always serve you well.
Right. And make you more successful in the long run, for sure.
That's right. So. Well, we at Meredith Communications always appreciate you guys. Like I said, we happily support you, and just look forward to having a continued good relationship and working together. And hopefully Leah and I will be able to speak at an event, like a real event soon.
Fingers crossed, right?
That would be helpful.
One of these days.
Right. I know, that would be really good. But hopefully by the time people hear this too, in a month or so, things will even be further along for the good. And we'll see what 2021 brings. But either way, when you work with your people and coach them and train them, regardless of what left turn happens next, they're going to be ready for it. And that's what we're advocating with the summit. And I know that's your whole business. So
we thank you very much for having us on, and we're excited to be a sponsor of the event. So.
All right. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Meredith.